Hey, I'm Kira. Welcome back to the channel. I'm thrilled you're here and I have a great class for you today. Please remember to like and subscribe as it really helps me get the word out. So let's talk about your knees. Knees are incredibly complex and critical. They help to cushion us as we walk, run, jump, and move from pose to pose in our yoga practice. So we got to take care of our knees. If you're experiencing pain in your knees, that could be happening for a number of reasons. But one of the things that may help alleviate your knee pain is to strengthen and stretch the muscles that support your knee joint, mainly your hamstrings, your abductors, adductors, or inner thighs, quads, and calves. So I'm going to show you some drills to strengthen and stretch the muscles that support your knee and keep them supple and strong. So some of these movements may be beneficial for you. However, if your knee pain is very acute, they might not. So find what feels good, leave the rest, and I'm excited you're here. So some equipment you'll need for today. You'll need some wall space and a set of yoga blocks, and then also a yoga strap or a towel or a belt. I'll see you on the mat. So let's begin on our backs, and you're going to need your yoga strap, most likely. So come onto your back with your yoga strap, and our first posture will be Supta Padangusthasana, or hand to toe pose. So we don't actually have to reach the hand to the toe. We can take the strap, place it over the ball of one foot, and just gently pull that extended leg toward you. If you want a little more stretch, you can extend the other leg straight on the mat. So why we're beginning here is sometimes the culprit with pain in the knees is tight hamstrings. We want to simultaneously stretch and strengthen all the muscles that support the knee joint. So stretching our hamstrings here with hand to toe pose. Make sure your breath is flowing. Sometimes I have to remind myself. And then keeping your left hip heavy, you're going to open your right leg out to the side. Of course, if you started on the left leg, you know what I'm talking about. So now feeling a stretch of the inner thighs or the adductors, also muscles that pull on and support our knee. So we want to stretch them as well. If this is too much sensation, you can always bend your extended leg a little bit. That'll just make you feel a little bit less of a stretch. And then take the leg up and across your body. So not a full twist, and you see I'm switching my strap to the other hand, but just a stretch alongside the right leg, the IT band, the iliotibial band. It's this ligament that also affects our knee alignment. So stretching this guy, if anyone's a runner, you're probably feeling this quite a bit. And then we'll let this go and we'll switch. So we'll bring the other foot up into the strap, beginning with hamstring stretch, hand to toe pose. So I'm gently pulling my extended leg toward me. The other leg can remain bent. Or if I want more of a stretch, I'm going to lengthen it out. And as you do this, just observe without judgment whether one side is more open or more tight than the other side. We all have asymmetry in our bodies. And then we'll bring the leg out to the side, feeling stretch through the inner thigh, the adductor. I didn't really give myself enough space, so I'm sort of on the wall now. But you have that leg as far out to the side as feels good. Just letting time and breath begin to open through the inner thigh and the groin with this passive stretch. And then we'll take the leg up and across your body, IT band lengthening. So resist the temptation to come into a full twist. You're just bringing the leg across your body any amount, and it could be just a few degrees if these guys are really tight. And then bring the leg back up. You're going to take the strap off of the foot and set it to the side. We're done with this for class. And then you're going to roll onto one side and find your way to a standing position. And we're going to use the wall now. So we're going to come into chair pose on the wall, also known as a wall sit from gym class. We all had to do this, so sorry if that triggers anybody. Ugh, I always was stressed in gym class. So you're gonna bring your back totally flat against the wall and come into a squat, a chair, a wall sit. So many names. Okay, so once we're here, I want you to really press your back into the wall and try to lift your toes. Feel your weight spread evenly between all four corners of your feet. And you're gonna feel the front of your quads working here a lot. Also, hopefully the inner thighs. So put your hands on your body, feel the muscles that are working. So we're looking for inner and outer leg and glutes all working to hold us in this position. So find your breath. This is a little more stable and healthy for the knees because of that back support. And the lifting of the toes also really forces us to engage all of the muscles that support the knee, not just leaning all on the quads. So just a few more breaths, doing great. And then we'll let this go. So you're gonna press your hands into the wall and straighten your legs and just drop into a forward fold on the wall. And let your head and neck relax. You could sway a little side to side. This is one of my very favorite stretches. And then you'll slowly come up to to stand. So my goal with this class is just to show you a lot of drills that you can use to strengthen the muscles that support your knee and also stretch the muscles that support the knee. So use any or all of these as you see fit, like the ones that feel really good, add those into your routine. So coming to stand in mountain pose, we're gonna bring our awareness to our feet. So standing with your feet hips width distance, again, lift your toes, okay? And then try to ground down through all four corners of your feet. So just observe if you tend to fall into the inside of the foot or lean more to the outside. We all have these habits with our alignment, but we want to be sort of right in the center of ourselves for healthy aligned knees. Yeah, and if your feet are a little more like turned out, doesn't matter so much which way the knees are facing, but we want the knees over the ankles, okay? Good, so just play with this a little, this shifting of weight forward and back, side to side, feeling all four corners of the feet pressing down into the support of the ground. Good. And then you can release the toes back down. And we're gonna take some squats. So these are just baby squats to wake up the knees. Don't have to come super deep. I'm just gonna turn to the side so you can see me. So we're gonna find a little bend in the knee. And again, knee is stacking over the ankle. And then the knee cap, when we bend the knee, we want it in line with the second toe, okay? And then straightening the legs. And that's our healthy, ideal knee alignment. So bending the knees, looking to see visually, is my knee over my ankle? And then when I bend the knee, is it gliding over my second toe? Yeah, so when I'm bending my knees, I can't see my second toe anymore. So just take a couple more of these. Again, if you have acute knee pain, maybe just a micro bend is a good way to approach this. Yeah, no need to take a deep, deep squat. Good, okay. And then we're gonna let this go and come into internal rotation squats. So with the feet a little wider than hips width distance, I want you to think about bringing the inner knee toward the other inner knee. Yeah, sometimes this also makes me think of like a little kid in public that has to pee. It's like that kind of an action. So what this is doing is stretching and strengthening all these little muscles that draw the knees in towards the midline, yeah? The adductors. Good. We're also feeling a stretch in the ankles as the knees come toward one another. So, you know, really good to move our bodies in lots of different ways for balance and overall strength. Okay, letting go of this. Bring your feet back underneath you. And then roll to the outer edges of your feet. So try to lift the inner edges of feet. And then roll to the insides of the feet. Try to lift the outer edges of the feet. So now we're kind of putting these two actions together. Also waking up the foot and the ankles. Because any movement specialist will tell you that, you know, the line of the body, the kinetic chain of the body, what's below or above the problem area is probably affecting it. So for healthy knees, we want healthy ankles. So stretching and strengthening ankles with this action. Nice. And then we'll let this go. We're going to shake out the feet. Okay. And then bring your hands to your hips and just take some hip circles to wake up your hips. So addressing the joints above the knees, the hips. So just take some hip circles, kind of working out the kinks, leaning into any areas that are tight. Ooh, I just got a good crack. And make sure you're going in both directions. Okay, all right. So let's get into some poses now, some yoga poses that are really beneficial for strengthening the legs. First one, we're going to take high crescent lunge with a hip hinge. So come to the top of your mat, hands on your hips, feet hips width distance. And then you're going to step your left foot back in space, come into a high crescent lunge. So that's where you're on the ball of the back foot. You want to have the feet about hips width so you don't feel like you're on a tightrope. And then you're going to hinge forward at your hips. And then again, try to lift your toes. So feel all four corners of that front foot rooting down. You should feel outer quad, inner quad firing up, front hamstring, right glute, all of it. So breathe. Nice. And then you're going to step your back foot to meet the front, back to mountain pose, and then we're going to switch. So from a hips width distance position, right foot steps back, high crescent lunge. Once you've found your feet, add that hip hinge, yeah? And lift your toes. So feel that the foot is balanced, yeah? So there's as much weight on the ball of my foot as there is on my outer back heel. My foot is flat. And just feel the muscles that are working here, yeah? It's a party in that front leg. Whew! Starting to feel the heat. All right, let's let it go. Step your back foot forward and just shake it out. Okay. So now we're going to repeat and we're going to add on to this. So get your yoga blocks and just set them on their highest setting at the front of your space in case you want them for the second part of this. So once again, high crescent lunge. We step the left foot back, find our high crescent with a hip hinge, which means I'm leaning forward, hinging at my hips. Try working with lifted toes. It is the best way to get honest about your feet. So feel your head reaching forward, the ball of your back foot rooting down, and resist the temptation to kind of hang out on that front thigh. Yeah, lift the belly away from the front thigh. And then we're going to take this into a warrior three. So we're going to bring the hands to the blocks, lean forward, lift the back leg up, and do keep a bend in the standing leg and try to drop your left hip. So imagine that I could balance something on your back. I live in New York City. Iced coffee here is like $7 sometimes. So imagine there's like a $7 cold brew coffee on your back. You do not want to spill it. Feel that right glute pressing into the midline. Try to come onto your fingertips so the legs are working, not the hands. Good, and then you're going to swing your back leg forward and cross the left leg in front of the right leg. Cross-legged, forward fold. Fold over your legs. So again, this stretches aimed at the IT bands. So I'm feeling this a lot in my outer left part of my leg. And you can experiment with your feet a little wider apart. Just find what feels good to you in your body, your version of this. And then we'll let it go. So we're going to uncross our legs. We're going to rise up to stand. And then we're going to take that on the other side. So when we get into single leg work, it really reveals which leg is stronger. For me, my left leg is my janky leg. So, that's always interesting. And usually I try to strengthen my weaker leg by just spending a little bit more time there. So just notice what that is for you. High crescent lunge is where we're headed. So you're going to step your right foot back to high crescent, add that hip hinge, lift your front toes. So really work to ground your front foot, keep pulling your left hip back in space, but rooting through the ball of your back foot. Spine is straight. Find your breath. Yeah, this is really intentional. A lot of work for that front leg. From here, it's a warrior 3, so hands find the blocks. You're going to lean forward, lift the back leg, yeah? And then you can bend that standing leg a little, but try to drop right hip so that you could balance something on your back and not drop it. Feel your head and your heel in one line. Flex your back foot. And then think of pressing your left glute into the midline, your left buttock. Yeah. And then we'll take that cross-legged forward fold. So swing your back leg forward. Cross right leg in front of the left leg. And fold over your legs any amount. You can use the blocks to bring the floor to you if this is feeling real tight. And just breathe. Nice. All right, moving on out of this. We're going to uncross the legs and rise up to standing, and then come to face the long edge of the mat. Warrior 2. Warrior 2 is another great pose to strengthen the legs and find healthy knees in the shape. So step your feet quite wide, maybe like 3 feet apart. And then you're going to turn your right toes to the front of the mat and bend your front knee. So again, in Warrior 2, first things first, we want that front heel to bisect the back arch. So if I drew a line with chalk from heel to back foot, my heel should go to the middle of my back foot. So once we have that going on, we feel stable. Let's talk about the knee. So again, we want to align the knee over the ankle. And then when we bend the knee, we're aiming that kneecap over the second toe. Okay? So we're not bowing the knee in. We're not letting the knee fall out. Okay? So just play with that and look at your body. Look at your knee. See where it's going. Another really helpful trick. I was trying to say tip and trick and I got trip. Okay. Put a block on its highest setting inside your front ankle. Okay. So then you're going to feel that block kind of keeping your leg vertical. Let's give that leg a break. Sweet Jesus, that was a long hold. Okay, let's switch sides. So we're going to parallel the feet. We're going to turn the left toes out. Again, we check, is front heel bisecting back arch? Yes, it is. Cool. Now we're going to add that knee bend. So add the knee bend, looking for knee stacking over the ankle, and the kneecap tracking over the second toe. And hopefully that should feel a lot more supported and stacked than if we were to just like let the knee bow in. If we roll to the outer part of the foot, yeah, stacked and aligned. And when you're working with this, if you ever need breaks, you can always straighten the leg, come back in, or you can take a small movement, right? It can be a small bend in the knee as you work on that alignment. So we'll let this go now. We'll parallel the feet, and then we'll heel toe the feet together and come down to our mat. So we've done the strengthening work. Oh no, I forgot a pose. I forgot a great pose. Eagle. Eagle is like our number one knee strengthening pose. Okay, so for eagle, if balance is something you struggle with, you might want to position yourself next to a wall for balance. So with eagle, we're going to cross one leg over the other like we're sitting in a chair, okay? And I'm going to demonstrate how one might do this pose modified with the support of a block. So I'm going to cross my right leg over my left and put it on a block. And what I'm trying to do here is squeeze my legs together like I'm wrapping two ropes. And then I'm going to sit my hips down. So I'm working my internal rotators, my adductor muscles as I squeeze everything in. Good. And then I'm going to release. So that wasn't full eagle, that was half an eagle. We're going to work up to it. So I'm going to take it on the other side. Join me, please. So I'm crossing my left leg over my right now, putting it on the block, or you could be resting it on your mat if you don't want to use the block. I'm squeezing my limbs together, yeah? So I'm feeling my inner thighs kick on, also my glute of the top leg as I squeeze everything into the midline. Nice. And then release. Shake out the legs. So if that was really challenging, maybe just repeat that. If you're like, I feel pretty strong, we're going to try to come into the balance. So again, starting from feet hips width, we're going to cross the right leg over the left, like sitting in a chair. Maybe we touch that foot down, or maybe it kind of hangs, and we're feeling our hips trying to level, and we're squeezing the legs together. If you want to add the arms, the left arm would hook under the right arm. If that feels a little too weird, just give yourself a hug. So we're actually temporarily cutting off blood flow in the limbs that we're wrapping, so that when we release them, let's release now to mountain pose. All of that fresh prana, the yogis say, fresh blood and life force can flow to the limbs, refreshing the limbs. So we'll try Eagle, Garudasana, other side, and then we'll take things down to the mat. So we're going to cross left leg over the right leg, like sitting in a chair. And remember, if you feel totally tippy, put the foot down, yeah? But squeeze the inner thighs together and look for your hips level. So try not to have your hips akimbo. Yeah, we want to level the hips, squeeze everything together. Then maybe we add the arms, okay? Right arm under the left. We're just giving ourselves a hug, but feeling everything pulling in. This is very active shape. If you wobble, all good. Feel your strength, and then let it go. Mountain pose. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can. But breathe and see if you can feel those subtle effects of the pose. That prana, that life force flowing through the body after our eagle wrap, our bind. Beautiful. Let's take things down to the mat and stretch it out. So you'll come down to the mat and have your blocks within reach. So we're going to come into Baddha Konasana, cobbler's pose to begin. So soles of the feet together, knees apart. Now, if your hips are very, very tight, you might want to sit up on a block or a pillow here so that your pelvis can tilt forward slightly and you're not feeling this load in your low back. So from here, we're going to pull any flesh away from the sitting bones so we can sit tall. We'll take a breath in. And on the breath out, we'll hinge forward at the hips any amount as we come into a forward fold. So, doesn't matter how deeply you're folding forward. What matters is that you keep breathing, that you keep noticing the sensation of stretch. So Baddha Konasana is an awesome pose to stretch the lower back and begin to stretch the hamstrings. You might feel this in your outer hips a little bit, your groin. We'll be here for about 5 more breaths. try to let every exhale just release you a little more deeply into the pose. You might even imagine sending your breath like a river current to anywhere that feels stuck or held, and rinsing out any gunk that's kind of blocking the channels, the flow of energy in the body. Good, and then start to make your way back up to seated. Okay, next pose is Upavishta Konasana, wide-legged forward fold. So this one is great for stretching the adductors, the inner thighs, which are a muscle that pulls on our knees a lot. So we want these guys stretched and flexible. So you're gonna open your legs to a straddle. Any amount, does not have to be a gymnastic giant straddle. And again, if your hips are really tight, you may benefit from sitting up on a pillow or something. And if you have knee pain, a modification that can be really therapeutic is putting blocks under your legs, right under the knees, so that the knees are bent and supported. So we're gonna try to sit up tall here and then start to walk the hands forward any amount. And we're gonna be here for about 8 breaths. So this one can be quite challenging for a lot of people. So just notice your breath, notice how this pose is sitting with you. If you do find it challenging, try to call in deeper, smoother breaths to help you make friends with the pose. Sometimes if we're in a challenging shape or if we're experiencing pain in our bodies, we clench and tighten and resist. And usually what's needed to feel better, to feel more ease, is a releasing and letting something flow through. So just a few more breaths here. Accepting what is. Releasing into the shape, another layer. And then we'll let it go. Walk your hands back. And you can just take your legs off the blocks, bring them in front of you, make fists, and just gently tap out your legs. And then we'll find Shavasana, final resting pose. So I'm going to show you one of my favorite ways to modify Shavasana for a little more knee support. So you're going to come onto your back, and before you do, you're going to place the blocks right underneath your knees again. And then you can lay onto your back. So this way the feet are kind of flopping open a little bit. And for me, this just feels like a very supportive position for my knees and also my low back. So just adjust as you need. If this isn't feeling totally comfy, find a position that is. And then allow your body and your mind to take rest. We've concentrated on a lot of pretty technical alignment cues during this class, so now's your chance to turn off the thinking mind. Let your mind rest and let your body rest, trusting that everything you worked on today will be stored in your muscle memory for the next time that you practice. Creating healthy habits for strong, happy knees. If you have the time, I recommend staying in Shavasana for as long as you want. But if you need to move into the rest of your day, you're going to begin to deepen your breath. And slowly bring some movement to your fingers and to your feet. And take your time pulling the knees in toward your chest. And rolling onto your right side. And when you're ready, we're going to meet back in a seated position. Just bringing your spine tall. Eyes closed, your soft gaze. Bringing palms together to prayer, bowing your chin to your chest, acknowledging yourself for taking a step to care for yourself, to cultivate strong, healthy knees through your yoga practice. Thank you so much for sharing your time and energy with me today. Namaste.